Okay, hi. My name is Cyanide, and today we shall be building because we're in my building world, and I want to share tips about building because I've been building in Minecraft for 5 years. Um, yeah, credentials. So, as you may tell, I have gotten slightly better over the years, and a lot of the stuff I could have learned from like a video. Um, instead of just testing. So if you'd like to come along with me while I talk and ramble aimlessly about builds and about things like that, please join because yeah, things. Um, but I would recommend watching this the whole way through before going off and building because there's a lot of stuff that you need to know before you start building and after you start building. So let's go. I have my you can't hear that, but my trusty notepad with me. And yeah, so let's go. I forgot to mention, but I will put my credentials on the screen. There's one right back there. Um, but that's just showing you that sorry, I can most certainly build, and that is very good. But yeah, I shall stop rambling and get on. So, before you start, you might have seen that my credentials included a lot of my art. That is because Minecraft building uses a lot of the same things as art. And I know that can sound a bit weird. I know it could be like I'm just rambling now, but color is a big aspect. Like if we go over here to these, that one doesn't look as good because the yellow and the brown are just not very complementary colors and not very nice colors together. While this one looks better because the orange and this greeny blue, are nice colors together. So we gotta talk about the color. One of those parts of color. If I just go over to where my helpful assistant, aka me last night, built something, I can talk to you about something called undertones. Undertones are, as you may have guessed, the tones under the color. The tones under the color are very important for having it match up. These are all white blocks. We have white wool, we have snow, and we have stripped pale oak wood. Now these all have very different undertones. White wool has pretty much no undertone or a grey undertone. Snow has a light blue undertone, which means that it's still white. It's still a white block, but it's more bluey. And pale oak wood has a pink undertone, if you can possibly see. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a bit. I put them all here together so you can see a bit better. This one's more grey, this one's more blue, and this one's more pink. Now, you may be asking me, why does this matter? Well, in building, if you're doing like a gradient or texture or something, you're going to want to build something, you're going to want to use something that has a similar undertone to be more unanimous. Or you can use the undertones to subtly influence what's happening. If you want to maybe, I don't know, make something look a bit more cozy and inviting, you might want to use some warm colors, some like reds. I'm assuming you know what warm colors are, but if you don't, it's the colors that are hot, like think of fire and stuff. But if you want it a bit more like cool castle, I use some like purples and some blue undertones, which are cool colors. To like make it more cool. Um, so undertones are always very important in anything you're doing. I might have just been rambling for a bit there, but I hope that I can edit that into something that makes at least a little bit of sense. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I have for colors for right now. Now we're gonna go on to the actual building stuff. In one of Gemini T's wonderful videos I like to watch, in one of her Hermitcraft Season 10 videos, she delved into how she builds her houses. And now I just kind of want to read her that advice because it was very helpful to me. What Gem describes she did was she built out a basic shape. So I'm gonna build you out a basic shape. Basic shape. This is just a square. Then you add your roof on top. I'll talk a bit more about roofs in a minute. But what we're doing is currently we're framing out our build before we end up coloring it in because often when you're building, you don't want to spend about 15 years doing one thing and then it turns out you absolutely hate it. So framing out your builds is more about getting the shape down and making sure that you like your block selections and you like the direction that you're going. Now we've got basic shape and roof. And what Jem did in her video was she showed how to make it a little bit more personal. You can add like one or two like little more sections onto it. So for this, I'm doing like a little entrance. This is just kind of showing you what to do. So this isn't the best. This isn't the best build I've ever done, but you can add one or two little sections just like to help your build feel a bit more full. See, that already looks better. Not really, but that already looks better. My pronunciations are all over the place. I apologize for sounding so strange. I'm talking very fast. Then you can add. I'm gonna add another one over here. You gotta make sure your build's balanced, or you gotta try. You gotta try and make sure your build's balanced. So that one seemed a little bit heavy on that side, so I want to add something over here just to like balance it out. So what she did, because she was building a lot of the same stuff, was added like one little tidbit to every little build, so there was a little bit of unique. And she showed off some helpful examples, but I want to show you some of my own. Yeah, you don't have to do that, obviously. If you're not building a lot of the same builds, you absolutely do not have to do that. But if you want to, the option is always there. I'm gonna use a spyglass to show off and zoom in, like a little balcony space. It's got a little like landing pad space. This is inspired by one of Jim's Empire's season 1, if you've seen it. Circle window. It's a window and circle. Tree. Tree. Nefarious spores. Nothing like some good old spores to lighten the mood. And last but not least, a portal to hell in the staircase. Those are all things you can add to your builds just to give them a little bit more spice, and that's how you frame things out. Section 3. Crazy. Adding more texture into your builds. Now, this has probably been said about 100,000 times on every single little building video you've ever watched. But nonetheless, I feel obligated to still share it with you because, I want to throw my coin into the ring and just tell you some other ways that you can add some little stuff into your build to make it a bit more texture. Because as always, you need texture in your walls. Everybody's always already seen the like classic add some logs and stuff. But have you been talked to about stairs? About your stairs and your slabs? They can enhance a build. They can really enhance your building skills. So I'm going to show you some of my ways that I've enhanced my building skills with stairs and slabs. I have about three or four main builds for this topic. But these are just because I had to use them. I was making these builds more for like framing out like a character because this character, Sunlight, was not the best. So I couldn't use windows, and usually windows are my go-to for a texture. If you come over here, then you'll see. Like in the walls, mostly it's just windows everywhere. These were the original first. It was deep dark. You see over there, windows. Everywhere is windows. But on these two and the tower behind them, I couldn't use windows. And now you might be saying right now, cyanide. This is a window. Yes, it is, but it's a very tiny one. And because I still wanted to add at least a little way to see outside. But the way that I textured these walls was with some trapdoors. See, there's nothing behind them. They're just normal trapdoors. And some stairs, which I used to make some very cool patterns. I think these patterns are cool. These are honestly better in the dark. TV Girl reference? Sorry. Don't mind the beacon. That was an experiment. This is also my experimenting world, as you can see from the many holes in the ground. But this is a smaller version of that build. And I've still, even though it is a smaller build, I've still managed to incorporate texture into the walls with these stairs and slabs and all kinds of other things. Look at this guy. Guy's sad. So that shows you even on smaller builds. Like, look at this one over here. There's still texture in the walls, even though I couldn't use Windows and it's still a small build, or at least the main body of this is small. It can show you just how much this could elevate your builds. If this was all flat, it would look way, way worse. So it's just texture and often finding different ways to texture things can be really, really fun. So if you're building and you're wondering, what is this missing? Add a texture or a gradient, but I'll talk about gradients later. And I also just kind of want to show off one of my other builds that use a lot of texture in the walls. So this one also uses a lot of texture, but in the ways that you wouldn't like a lot of texture and depth, but in the ways that you can't really tell that it's there, but you can tell that it adds a lot. I sound so American when I'm saying that. I'm so sorry. It adds a lot. See, I could have just gone like normal like trapdoors or blocks for the side, but no, I wanted to add these bits. And I could have just gone normal slabs. I could have just not had these trapdoors. But I didn't. I could have had this being flat. But no, I didn't want it to be flat. I could have had that being flat. But yet again, it's not something I wanted to do. So I added to it. And that really, really elevated the build. It made me look like I was professional, which I'm really, really not, I promise you. And now on to the final, I think, well, how much? Oh yeah, I have other things to show you. But anyway, another thing that I wanted to talk about for building, like especially for framing it. I know I was going to talk about roofs later. This is me talking about roofs later. There's a lot of different roof types, and you want to make sure that the roof type is the type of roof for your build. We've got this, the classic triangle of just stairs. This is a very easy one. We all know this. This can be good for like this. I don't really know. It's gonna be good for a lot of different types of stuff. Just like very very awesome things. This is a very cool roof type, but there is cooler ones. This is a little bit more complicated one. If anybody would like a tutorial on how to build this, I would be totally willing to make a tutorial just talking about roofs. I like building, and I like roofs, so roof video would be something I would be willing to do. But what this is a more like farmhousey type roof, and as you may have seen in the video, I've used this, but I've put a circle window in the middle, which I thought is a very good use of this circle-ish shape. This is often used, this type of roof shape is often used for like barns and like farmhouses and things like that because of how it looks. It is a very, very simple type of roof to make once you understand it, but understanding it can be the hard part, which is why I would be willing to make a video. Then we move on to the tall type of roof. Now, the tall type of roof is where things get interesting. The tall type of roof is very, very easy to build. It's literally stair, stair, block, stair, stair, block, stair, stair, block, until you get to the top. But it can look very, very elegant, very, very cool if you use it in the right way. Um, this is often used for taller builds and um, like I've seen a lot of people use it for like churches. This can be a very, very cool roof type, and it's also very, very easy to build. So yeah, this one is possibly even easier to build. It doesn't look the greatest, obviously, but this is a more flat type roof. Yet again, also often used on like farmhouses type builds. Unfortunately, there is no way to remove these parts unless you want a bit in your roof that's just a bit. Hmm. But I mean, you could do like if you do that, and then you just do like you can totally do something cool with that. Roof types. Yeah, very cool. Okay, the last and final thing that I would like to talk to you about for building that I like to build with is gradients. And I've brought you over to this tree. Um, now why I've brought you over to this tree, you might be asking. Well, that's because this tree uses a lot of gradients. But the reason that you often want to use gradients is because it just makes it look a lot nicer and can add a lot of texture to your build. This also relates back to art and how on art you use a lot of gradients because you need to blend the colors into one another. Um, so gradients are very, very useful in Minecraft. But I want to just pick apart this tree first and why I've used these gradients. So I'll use this branch as an example. In a lot of the upper areas or the areas that get least sun, I've put the spruce leaves because they are the darkest. And then to blend in, I've used the birch and mangrove, and then finally it's the oak. And on the very, very lightest areas, the places that are going to be absolutely covered with light from the beautiful, glorious sun, I've used the azalea leaves because they're the lightest of all. So adding ingredients into your builds is a great way to just make them look a lot nicer because this would have looked horrible if it was just one type of leaf. Well, it wouldn't have looked horrible. It would have looked a lot worse than it does now. And adding ingredients is a great way to add texture and variety and just like something for your eyes to grasp at when you're doing something. So instead of being just staring at it for a little bit and just being like, wow, the shaping of those leaves is really cool, you can do that, but you can also say, wow, I really like the gradients that they've used on this one because I think the colors they blend together really well. I'll show you some other builds for these gradients now. This one's really these gradients. Well, it does kind of because we went from the this to this, but this is a tree that has used some gradients. I love building this tree. It's so fun. In this build over here, which was me like trying out for some things, I've also used some gradients in the floor to go from dark to light to dark again. In this build, I've used some gradients as well. I've around here there's hidden lighting up under here, so it's just like easier to have it and see at night. But this is the area where it'd be the lightest because this is where the light's under. Then we got onto more, so it's lighter and it's more like colorful. Then we got onto less colorful and a bit less lighter, and we got onto normal grass. And also, as you can see, the main thing on the roof, there's a lot of gradients because I've used a lot of this. It just made it a lot more visually interesting, a lot more nicer to look at. So unfortunately, I realized a lot less of my builds use gradients than I would like to, but that's because most of my I haven't been on this world like too much and built too much. A lot of my older worlds which are sadly deleted now because I got a new phone and I played on mobile for most of my life. So I had some great builds that I've been able to show you, but they're gone, so I can't access them now. So I had a lot less material for this thing than I thought I would. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go do my outro now. Right, and now as we stand in the green box, I shall do my outro. Um, this has been a really fun video for me. I've mostly just spent most of my time just rambling about different things, but I really hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have. And if you would like to see any more types of videos like these, I would be very willing to do them. So please just leave your opinion down below. Leave a like and something if you enjoyed it. Also subscribe because I promise I do post. I just don't post frequently. Sorry. But if you have enjoyed, yeah. Uh, so yeah, I made that in survival, you know. And that. I also made this. Please help. No. Oh, the held. Hold, please hold. Sorry. I'm gonna have to put you on hold.